Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're completely new here and you haven't watched any of my videos, my name is Beatrice and I am 28 years old. I am married to my husband Tony and we have two kids, an 8-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. And after my daughter, I actually had a tubal ligation done because we thought we were completely done having kids. And last year, March 2019, which is 5 years after my tubal ligation, I suffered a miscarriage. Now, we don't know what went wrong with my tubal ligation or where the pregnancy was. We don't know if it was a tubal or if it was in the correct spot in the uterus. I just know that by the time we even made it, by the time it was time for our first appointment that we were going to get checked by my OB, I was already starting my miscarriage. So I never got to find out how far along I was. And by the time I got my first ultrasound, there was nothing to show. Either I had already miscarried or the miscarriage was a very early miscarriage, so there was nothing to see yet on ultrasound. The day of my first appointment, it was supposed to be my first prenatal appointment, is when the miscarriage actually happened, and I was sent straight to the hospital because I had such heavy bleeding. And since given my past that I did have a tubal ligation, they weren't sure if it was a tubal pregnancy and I was bleeding out, so I was just sent immediately to the hospital, where they did blood work and my HCG levels were only 50. But at that point I was already aware of my pregnancy for 2 weeks. That was the day that the cramping started and the heavy bleeding started, so that's why I was sent to the hospital. So we never really found out how far along I was. We're not sure if it was a super early miscarriage or I had already passed whatever was growing inside of me before I went to the hospital. They did do an ultrasound at the hospital and they couldn't really see anything besides lots of blood and blood clots. So ever since then, that was last year, March 2019, ever since then we have been trying to conceive. I never got any additional testing or checkups after that. We just didn't have the money and didn't have insurance back then, so I did not continue to check up with my doctor. I did check up once. No, I went back twice to my OB and they were just tracking my HCG levels with the blood test. The last time I went, it was at 14, so it had went from 50, I think it was 25 after, and then it went down to 14. So at that point I didn't feel like it was necessary to keep going to the doctor and paying out of pocket and paying an extra $100 for every blood test for them just to tell me that the miscarriage did happen. My HCG levels kept going down, so I just never followed back with my OB. And fast forward to now, it's a year later. This will be cycle 18 of trying. You can go back to my older videos and I put pregnancy test videos and ovulation videos from our past cycles. So this is going to be cycle 18 of trying to conceive baby number 3 after my miscarriage, because obviously I was pregnant. It was confirmed by the doctor that I had a miscarriage, so something went wrong with my tubal. We just don't know what. Or I've heard of women that actually grew like a new tube. I don't know how that happens, but I've heard of crazy stories like that. Or maybe one of my tubes healed, maybe both of them healed. I know when I requested my tubal ligation, I requested that they cut and burn the ends, which is what my mom had done. And I knew that that was going to be the most permanent solution to birth control. So I had that done, but obviously something happened, something went wrong. So right now, if you watched my last cycle, it was such a heartbreak because I could have sworn we saw positive lines on our tests, but it ended up either being false tests or early pregnancy loss. I'm not sure. I got a hair on my face. But anyway, this will be, I haven't started ovulating yet. I still got another week. Next weekend is my ovulation date, so I'm going to start tracking my ovulation. And then obviously later on, I will start taking pregnancy tests. But I did want to come out here and talk a little bit about our plans after this cycle. Since this is cycle 18 and nothing has really happened, back in November, before I started tracking my TTC journey on YouTube, I did have what I believe was another chemical pregnancy, because we had a light positive on the first response test, and on the blue dye test we had some definite positives. But after that, a few days passed, I started spotting, got my period, and my tests were back to negative. So with that time, which was last November, and then this most recent cycle 17, where same thing, I swear I saw lines, but then ended up getting my period. I think I am still able to get pregnant. So we were thinking that this cycle, cycle 18, is going to be the last cycle that we're going to try without trying to figure out what went wrong. When I went to the doctor after my miscarriage, they recommend that I get a HSG test, which is kind of like a x-ray. I think now they do it over sonogram as well. They inject a fluid up your cervix, and then they check to see where the fluid goes in your fallopian tubes, just to make sure that the fallopian tubes are blocked. They can basically see if one of my tubes has opened up or rehealed, but they just like track the fluid using the x-ray. They track it to see where the fluid goes. So if the fluid goes up the tube and out into the abdominal cavity, that means that tube is back open. If the fluid just stops on both sides, that means my tubes are still blocked. But we are considering getting that done. I didn't get it done last year, again, because of money issues, no insurance, out-of-pocket costs are really high, and I've been searching and calling. I called like 4 different places so far, and I swear prices have went up even higher, because I had somebody on Facebook tell me that they went to a clinic nearby us. They paid $500 for HSG and an SGH, something like that. It's where they check your uterus, and they only paid $500 out of pocket for that. And I called that same place, and they quoted me $470 just for the HSG, not the other one where they check your uterus. But I've just been quoting prices, trying to find the best ones. I don't think we're ready to do this right away, just because of I need time to save up the money. But so far, that was the best price I found. It cost $100 just for the wellness check visit, and then I get to consult with the doctor, and the actual HSG is $470. I called another fertility place, and they wanted also $100 for the first visit, and then their test was $549 for the HSG. I called another place, and I didn't even write them down, because they wanted $450 just for a fertility consult, and I had to put $250 of that down at the time I wanted to make the appointment. And then the HSG test was going to be another $500 something, which was ridiculous. I called my regular OB, and their prices have went up too. Without no insurance, it costs $160 just to get like a regular well woman's visit. And we're in Florida, by the way, so I don't know if that makes any difference in the prices, if it's more expensive or less than other states. But just to see them and talk to the doctor about getting a referral to get this HSG test cost $160, and then the receptionist wasn't able to tell me how much the HSG test would cost. I'm not sure where they would refer me to, so I don't think I'm going to go that route, because I'd rather go somewhere else and pay the $100 for my first visit and then pay for the test, instead of paying $160 just for them to refer me to somewhere else that's gonna want another consult appointment plus the HSG test fee. So I think the most affordable option is going to be going straight to probably that first clinic that I called. That was $100 for the visit, $470 for the HSG test. But in my opinion, we're gonna try again for sure this cycle. We're gonna try again and just see what happens, because best case scenario is that I'm able to get pregnant without having all these tests and paying all this money. Of course, there is no price to pay for another baby. It's just a miracle from God, and we are excited about it. But just to avoid any more like miscarriages in the future, or avoid the, how can I say it, like the constant wondering what happened with my tubes. The HSG test is something that we're considering taking in the near future. So when I do take that, I'm going to post a video about my experience about it and share with you the results. I'm super nervous about that test because some people say it's painful, some people say it's not. But I know for sure that I read if you do have a blockage in your tubes, it's going to be painful because the pressure from that fluid going up your tubes and not being able to go through is going to hurt. So it's almost guaranteed that it's going to hurt for me. Some people don't experience any pain besides mild cramping, but that's because they don't have a blockage in their tubes, so the fluid just goes straight through. I know for a fact that I'm going to have blockages because I did have the tubal ligation. Whether it's going to hurt on one side or both sides, I'm not sure yet, but I know it's going to be painful. So I'm not looking forward to that part. And then obviously I'm not looking forward to forking out the money for these tests. They're just so expensive and it's such a quick procedure. People say it takes like maybe 5 minutes. So why is it's so expensive? I'm not sure. Another thing I'm kind of nervous about is the results of the HSG test because although I did get pregnant, I know something went wrong with the tubal ligation. I know some healing had to happen in order for me to get pregnant. But I'm afraid of them telling me that it's not safe to continue trying to conceive because maybe there's like a little leak in one of my tubes, a little hole where sperm is able to get through, and that's why I got pregnant in the past. But if they find that the results are not that my tube completely healed and the fluid is going straight through, I feel like they're going to tell me it's not safe to conceive and they're going to try to put me on some type of birth control or talk me into re-getting another surgery to basically do the tubal ligation again, or recommend that my husband get some sort of birth control as well, like a vasectomy or something like that. So I am not looking forward to hearing bad news. The best case scenario again would be getting pregnant without having to go through all this. But the second best case scenario is that we go for this test and they tell us good news. One of your tubes is completely healed. You got 50-50 chance of getting pregnant, but it's good to go ahead and start trying, even though we have been trying all along. But so I'm hoping that's the case, or by some strange act of God they tell me that both of my tubes are healed, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I just hope that the HSG test brings good results because I am going through the trouble of it and paying the money. I don't want to get bad news from it. Nobody wants to get bad news from that. They also say that the HSG test helps with infertility because if I have maybe some scar tissue from the surgery left over, that the actual test, the fluid, helps clear that away. So some people actually experience like really good fertility after getting the HSG test. So that might be something good that comes out of it. It'll help me get pregnant in the future. But that is what we're thinking of doing after this cycle. I think I still have 2 more places to call, and there is also a free clinic in my area, but they already told me it's going to be such a long wait because they've been closed for 2 months and they kind of have to play catch up with all their old appointments, and by the time I apply and I get approved, and it's just going to be months down the line before I get that. And I do want to get, if I don't end up pregnant this cycle, I do want to go ahead and get that process started to sign up for my HSG test. And I know for that one you have to refrain from trying to conceive because you don't want to go into the office and get this test done if there's any chance that you may be pregnant, or like, you know what I mean, implantation is about to happen, because that'll ruin all that. So for that month that we get this test scheduled, we cannot try to conceive at all. So we are putting all our prayers on this cycle, that this cycle is the one that we end up pregnant and we don't have to go through all of this. And I just can't wait for my miracle baby. Depending on the results we get for the HSG in the future, that will determine whether it's even possible to conceive after this. So it's like I'm looking forward to it just so I can get answers on what happened to my tubal ligation. But then on the other end, I'm kind of nervous of what they're going to tell me. And I know at the end of the day, it is God's plan, because obviously I got this tubal ligation to not have any more kids, and I ended up pregnant again. So it might be in God's plan that we are meant to have more kids. So we're putting all our faith in Him. And if this HSG test is what we need to get closure and to know that we're not meant to have any more kids, then that'll be it. But if the test gives us hope and gives us the yes and the go ahead that we are free to continue trying to conceive because it is safe to do so, then that'll be another answer. But for now, until we make our final decisions on getting this HSG test, we will continue to try to conceive, and I will be back on to share with you guys the results of our cycle 18 pregnancy test, which is going to be coming probably in like 3 weeks. So look forward to that. And if you'd like to continue following our journey of trying to conceive following a miscarriage after a tubal ligation, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button, click the notification bell. I am sharing all types of videos, from just stuff we do with the family, my weight loss journey, because I am also trying to lose weight while trying to conceive, and all our trying to conceive videos. And if we do end up getting pregnant, then you can look forward to pregnancy updates. And I would love to have a home birth. That's like my dream, to have a home birth, and I would be able to record the home birth like a vlog and share that with you guys, and share a little blessing or a little miracle with you guys. So just make sure you subscribe, and if you have a channel as well, just let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to subscribe back with you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.